My name is Omar Lambright. I'm 44 years old. I have one son. His name is Kyan, and he is 2 years old.
How did you feel the moment you found out you were going to be a father?
I found out the day before Valentine's Day, and not having any kids prior to that, I didn't think it was going to happen. So my wife called me with the news, and at first I didn't believe her. But then, later on that night, I was very happy, and I was proud that I was about to take on that journey.
Why didn't you believe her?
Just because it was, it just hadn't happened to that point. I didn't know how sure it was. I think I might be pregnant. How many times people have heard that? But,
Notice that you said you're 44 years old and your son is 42.
No, my son's 2.
Excuse me, your son is 2, you're 44.
Right.
Became a father later in life. What's that like? What's that like, and did that happen on purpose?
Well, we had been trying for a while, and I think for me being an older father is different than if I was in my 20s. I think being an older parent, I understand time and the importance of it, so I'm always paying attention to him. So I'm just aware of a lot of things, and so each day for me is a different kind of acknowledgement. Every day he does something new. He does something for the first time, and so I'm aware and I'm paying attention, and I think I'm just more focused being an older parent.
What is your relationship with you and your father? What is your relationship?
Everything I do with my son is a direct result of him being in my life, still being in my life. I don't know what it would be like to not have him in my life. The good, the bad, everything, the way I think, the voices I hear, everything that I do is a direct result of him being in my life. I don't think I'll ever stop hearing his voice.
What is one thing that your father has taught you that helps guide you through basically every day?
The general theme is to respect the rights, feelings, and property of other people. That seems to just kind of run through my head. He told me that one day, and it just kind of seemed to stick. So through that, it's kind of like my mantra. So if I do those things, I think it's blessed me and protected me thus far to think that way, not to overstep my bounds with other people, to be on good terms with all people without surrender. So that's kind of kept me afloat, and it's kind of been my blessing and my prayer to this very day.
Is there a moment? Name one moment that you looked at your dad and were just happy that he was your dad. Something he did, may have received a knowledge.
It was funny. One time I came in the house, it was late. I come in the house, and I'm like maybe 12, 13. I came in a little late. He starts the lecture. I had this look on my face. He looked at me and said, "What's the problem? You don't want to hear this?" So I said, "No." He said, "All right." And I was standing there for about a couple of seconds, and I walked away, and it was so freeing. He gave me the option. Like, he saw my face. He saw he wasn't getting through to me. And I think that I received him even more after that. Because it wasn't like, for a lot of times when you get in a lecture, you don't have a choice. And I think he respected me as a man, as a young teenager. And I think it helped me even receive him more.
What's something that your father did that you wouldn't do with your kid?
It's a lot of things. You know what? One of the things that really stand out, I don't know if I'm going to have the same cavalier attitude about women in front of my son as my dad had with me. I don't know. I want my son to kind of like come into his own in an innocent kind of way. Not that I was brought up and was forced to do anything differently, but I think that my dad's candid vernacular about women at an early age, I think kind of like prejudiced me a little bit. And so all my adult life, I've been trying to, find a way to channel my inner animal. And so I don't want to expose my son to that. I don't want to expose him to certain things too early. And have him, just looking at women in a certain way.
What will you teach your child about respecting women and why that is so
I
important?
think it's so important. I think we've lost our way with our women. I think even when men are sitting around and we refer to them as bitches, I think that's got to stop. We have to have different conversations with our young men. We have to. We're hunters by nature, but we have to teach our young boys how to channel some of that. It just can't be. It can't be. Oh, how many you got? How many did you bag up? It's got to be a different kind of respect because I think everybody's lost their way in that.
What is one thing, not just your son, you would teach any young man, you would want them to learn about how to deal with it, properly deal
I think it's all about. I work in the school, so I think every time that I'm talking to a female teacher, I think kids learn from it. You know, I'm not sitting there and I'm not gyrating my hips and I'm not looking at them up and down. I'm talking with a respect. And I think just by example, a lot of times kids can learn from that. And if you have a chance to talk to a kid about women and maybe if you hear some of how they think, you can kind of like, you know, intercede and help them think a different way about it. Because a lot of people aren't talking to these kids about how they should respect women. I mean, it's just not what's going on in a lot of homes. So if any chance that I get, if there's an example, as a matter of fact, I had a kid gyrate his hips behind a teacher not too long ago. And when he came back to school, I had to let him know how improper that was and how, you know, it could get worse next time for you. And 1 minute you gyrating hips, next time you touching the butt, next time, you know, you're groping, you can get in trouble for that. It's assault.
As a father, why is it important that your son see you respect your wife or women in general?
I'm his first teacher in how he treats women. So if I don't treat his mother right, he won't treat anybody right after that. So if I'm loving on her and kissing her when I come in the house, the things that I do that are natural, and the dialogue that my wife and I have, we do more laughing than we do crying. So I think it's important for him to see a natural and loving relationship.
How has being a father changed you?
Every thought that I had before my kid, I don't remember. Everything that I do right now has everything to do with him, how I carry myself away from him. Um, every thought that I have is about him and bettering his life. I want him to have great opportunities. I want him to feel himself to be important into this world. I only have one, and so I think that it's just important to do everything for him, even when I'm not around.
What was the best advice you received before you became a father that you see now that's reality?
I asked a lot of questions to a lot of parents, and I got great advice from people from everywhere. And one thing that I remember that I take is if you tell your child you're going to do something, do it. Because, like, say for instance, if you don't want to hang out, if we plan to go out Friday, and Friday comes and you say, man, you know, I got something else to do, okay, that's fine. But as a child, if you tell a child that, their world is small. And so if you disappoint them in that way, then they don't have any recourse. It's just like they're like, okay, what do I do now? You know, I've been waiting all week for that. So to keep your promises.
What is 2 years in? What is your proudest moment as a father? Has it been a proudest moment?
No. I mean, every day I'm happy that everybody wakes up. I'm proud of that because, you know, things can go wrong all the time. So if he wakes up, I wake up, I'm kind of like in the moment of that. When I come home, that's the victory every day. I come home, he comes home, everybody's safe.
Were there father figures in your life
Outside of my father, my uncles, coaches, a good piece of advice from somebody, just passing along. anything that was good from older men, I gravitated toward it.
If there's an expectant father watching this right now, what advice would you want to give to him?
Wow, stay in the moment, love your son, pay attention, love his mother despite in front of him.
Is there how has your wife allowed you or helped you be a great father, a good father?
I always used to tell people before we had a son that one of the reasons I married my wife is because I knew she'd be a great mom. And I think that's important. I think a lot of men don't think about that. It's important to know who you're going to have your baby with. And it's important to, like, if you're going to, do certain things and take on and have sex and knowing the possibilities without, protection, and you got to know, who you're dealing with. So for me, my wife is, she's a good mom. She makes me up my game because she's such a good mom. So I have to up my game with her.
What about the guy watching this who going through tough time, wants to leave his woman, children are involved? What advice would you give him for trying to fight it out, trying to stay there? Or what advice would you just give him? What advice would you give him?
That's a difficult question. I think everybody's situation is different. And I think that for a lot of people, for a lot of guys, there's some situations you just can't come back from, and it doesn't mean that you don't be a part of your child's life. But each situation is different. I think it's case by case, and they need to really talk to somebody outside of the situation and get some kind of counseling to see if that's something they really want to do. Because a lot of times you can talk to your friends and they know what's going on, but they might not give you the best sound advice. But ultimately, everybody knows this situation, and everybody is going to do what they're going to do. But I mean, you try your best as best you can to still maintain a healthy relationship with your kids, despite what's going on with you and your woman. My name is Omar Lambright, and I'm speaking to my son, Kyan. Kyan, if I never saw you again, ever, dropped dead right here, just fell back in this chair, I want you to know one thing. Believe in yourself, trust your heart, and you'll be a good dude.